Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Maria Legier, and I probably shouldn't be reading this late at night, but I can't get it out of my head. This is Outlawed Justice, Outlawed Men. A shy and awkward student is facing jail after he touched a teenager in an attempt to befriend her. Such is the beginning of this article, linked below. Go read the article, then come back. It is closing in on midday Saturday, October 12th, 2019. I am a bit hungover, admittedly a normal state of being come Saturday, having delved a bit too deeply into the waters of life the day before. That is what a bucket load of homebrewed concoctions and loud music will get you. Rock and roll ain't dead, neither is punk for that matter. It just got old, developed a bad case of rheumatism, and had to take it a bit easy for a while. Usually, I don't do much writing on Saturdays. Or, well, that is to say, I tend to work a bit on other projects. Things that are not necessarily related to men's human rights. More of the personal, spiritual stuff that I would focus a lot more on were it not for this god-awful gender stuff being of far more importance. The personal realm can wait, as can the spiritual realm. These don't matter much in the grand scheme and schism of things. Things in this instance being a fancy word for a society that appears to have gone well past its sell-by date. No, the personal, spiritual stuff I write does not matter all that much. Not when the basic humanity of boys and men are being eroded beneath our feet, a great wide chasm opening up to engulf us and then close above us. To leave us forever devoured by the world, soulless, homeless, and absolutely, gobsmackingly hopeless. Lost beneath the dead and decaying waves of a split-seamed society that turns its whip-stroked back on boys and men more and more for every passing day. It may very well sound as though I am being hyperbolic, mayhaps even overly dramatic. Maybe I am. I am afraid to say that I don't think this is the case. I first encountered this article 2 days ago, October 10th, on the day of its release. I was planning on doing a piece on it next week, maybe postponing part 4 of my unending ramble of why I am an anti-feminist. I just needed some time to think about it, devour it, and consider it. I tend to leave the more poetic stuff for Wednesdays, then focus on a bit heavier, lengthier stuff for the Saturdays. This allows me to write both prose poetry and more conventional opinion pieces once a week. Writing is my first and greatest love, or at the very least my greatest outlet for the whatever and the whatnot. But I can't for the life of me get this thing out of my head. It is an absolute atrocity. And trust me and believe me, and upon my oath and my honor both, I do not use the word atrocity lightly. And I find myself at a loss for words. This is not something which I am used to, not when I am writing. I am often at a loss for words if I were to speak to someone whom I don't know all that well, not being the best versed in social interactions. Chalk that up to introversion, shyness, anxiety, social awkwardness, whatever you want. All in all, it doesn't matter. I fare much better with a written word than I ever will with a spoken word. And no wonder, in all honesty. The topics that I write about is not particularly accepted within the murky depths of society as society stands. The feminist narrative has all but won, and we are all shackled and chained beneath its iron grip and flimsy iron will. It is not without reason that I refer to it as a tyrannical, totalitarian ideology, the dominant ism of our day and age. That I choose not to speak on these topics in public, that I choose to write about them in the way that I do instead of debating those who may, for lack of a better descriptor, be called my ideological opponents, may very well get me labelled a coward. And I may very well be a coward. Truth be told, I don't care. At the very least, do I do some small thing in opposition, however small the part in opposition I play really and truly is. When I am writing, it is a whole other matter in regards to the words. They tend to come flowing out of my haphazardly thrown together, aching, borderline broken joints and fingers and muscles as though shot from a double-barreled shotgun deep within my very soul. Which, in truth, is where they come from. I don't believe I have ever tried to hide the fact that my writings come from an emotional place. That is to say, they are tainted and given form and shape from the emotional state I am in at the moment of writing. This is not to say that my reasoning or my arguments are based on emotion, far from it. The delivery, however, is, and such is the realm of art, I think, at the very least the realm of art which I inhabit. It may very well be that I am a fairly sensitive man. I write poetry for Christ's sake. And I don't see anything wrong with this, for the simple reason that there really is nothing wrong with this. It is what it is. When looking at this article, no, not when looking at this article, when looking at the fate of this young man, his doom as it were, I don't know what I feel. I know what I think. There's no doubt about what I think. There's no doubt about this absolutely horrid display of injustice. Malicious, vicious, brutal, destructive, savage, uncaring, cold, callous, an absolute disregard for this young man's life, his mental health, his emotional well-being, all for being socially awkward, all for a false pretense, all for the girl and the justice system deciding that they know his intent better than he knows his own intent. And I feel only cold. Unbelievably, wretchedly, disturbingly cold. This is what feminism has done. Welcome the feminist utopia, the age of untangled enlightenment. In the dark, with neither flint nor tinder to light a fire to warm your bones by, or illuminate the corkscrew path ahead of you. The intent, the true intent of this young man does not matter. Nor does it matter that absolutely no one was hurt in any way, in any real, tangible, measurable way, except the young man. The subjective feeling of the young woman in question decides not only his fate, but his intent. Her subjective feeling in the moment trumps his original intent. Were he socially anxious and awkward prior to this, you can be damned sure he will be socially broken and destroyed after this. This is obscene. It is a travesty, and yet I am not in the least bit surprised. I doubt anyone really and truly is. Western civilization is broken, and I fear beyond repair, and I am frightened, honestly, truly, really, to the depths of my heart, frightened. One cannot apply logic to this case, nor can one apply reason, because the girl, her parents, the entire goddamn justice system has not done it. This is not a case built on evidence. It is not a case built on reason. It is not even a case built on any criminal act. It is a case built entirely on emotion, on subjective feelings. This case should never have been a case. It should not have been a criminal thing. It should have been thrown out, laughed out of the courtroom and the hands of any law wielder with any amount of self-respect, or respect for their profession. Being socially awkward should not carry with it punishment by law, yet it is, in the land of the damned, which is to say the UK. The offence, if you can even call it that, carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, and a lifetime, if I understood it correctly, of being on the sex offender register, for touching a woman's arm and waist, because the woman, no, the overgrown girl child, was certain he was going to touch her breast. How is that proven? I don't understand it. How does one go about proving the intent of someone else without employing some hitherto previously unknown psychic telekinetic abilities? Quote, I think it would have been on my breast had I not moved, unquote, she says. She thinks, she feels, with all her awesome neoteny and arrogance. Therefore, it has to be true. That is the evidence presented, and that is the evidence accepted. The unbelievable mind-reading abilities of an overgrown girl child ruining the life of someone else who is, by his own admittance, socially awkward and anxious and overwhelmed by loneliness. And it's not that I don't understand the importance of having and maintaining personal boundaries. Of course I do. I'm not a big fan of being touched by strangers myself. But does anyone really and truly believe this is a case of sexual assault? And does anyone really and truly believe that this warrants punishment? Particularly punishment that may be as severe as 10 years imprisonment and a lifetime subscription to the sex offender register. Come on. The young woman stated that, quote, I struggled for a couple of months afterwards, end quote, for being touched on the arm and waist. Sounds to me as though someone really, really wants to be a victim of something in order to push away any responsibilities she may have for her own life, or just to get them sweet victim credentials that are oh so popular at the moment. Particularly so when taken into account that she apparently was unable to finish her mock exams and then apply to Oxford University. Seems very convenient, does it not? Also sounds as though she is not cut out to be part of wider society if this small, petty and, for all intents and purposes, absolutely harmless happening is enough to ruin her for months on end. Admittedly, this is speculation on my part, but everyone is looking for someone to blame, you know, as long as that someone is not oneself. And it is so excruciatingly easy for a woman, in the madness of today, to push the blame onto a man. Any man. A man is not a human being after all. That is what we have been told and taught for decades. Men are nothing but rape machines, and any contact with a man cannot lead to anything but unwanted sex. They don't deserve our empathy. They deserve nothing but scorn. Men do not seek anything but quick and cheap sex, usually by force. That is the myth and legend being told and presented, and so it must be true. A man could not possibly wish to have a relationship with a woman without sex being up front and center in his mind and at the tip of his throbbing, mutilated rape implement. This is what the feminist hive mind as well as traditional views have told us about men, creating a generation of neuroticism, sexual hang-ups and neo-puritanism in the process. To such an extent that touching a woman's arm and waist is now considered sexual assault, carrying with it a maximum sentence of 10 years and a lifetime in the sex offender register. You know, the amount of times I have been touched on the arm, shoulder, hand, chin, beard, cheek, butt and on one occasion groin by women, often in a state of inebriation, whom I did not properly know at the time, are not few. Believe it or not, given my not exactly dashing good looks as well as my lack of charisma. I wonder if either the police or the courts would have taken me seriously if I reported them, or if anyone else would have taken me seriously for that matter. Come to think of it, I once had a woman follow me around in a pub, constantly putting her head on my shoulder and whispering sweet nothings into my ear. A compliment for sure, though I was not particularly interested in her, not being a fan of one-night stands at any point in my life. This happened when I was 18. I wonder if it is too late to file charges. For me, it would have been too late no matter when I did it. We all know this. Had I been bestowed a vagina upon birth, however, it appears that this resting of her head on my shoulder would be enough to ruin her life for good. In particular, since her sweet, whispered nothings were slightly on the sexual innuendo side of things. Besides, women tend to touch other people more in casual conversation than men do, be that other women or men. It is all right when they do it, of course. Because men have nothing to fear from women, as the petulant peddlers of prime bullshit will peddle you from their long-reaching serpent tongues and spineless forms. Well, boy howdy do I have something to tell you, and that is this. Evidently, we do. Very much so. This is violence by proxy, using the government. This is violence, intimidation and kidnapping. A young woman using the government as her weapon of choice. And now this young man will carry with him the label of sex offender for the rest of his life, which, I fear, will not be a long and happy life. I hope this young woman will realize what she has done at some point in her life, and that regret, shame and guilt will follow her to the end of her days. I am usually not this vindictive, but this is absolutely horrible, given, of course, that the information presented is true. I have not seen anything to indicate otherwise. I find it absolutely astonishing that the courts are able to state, without a smidgen of a doubt, that, quote, the complainant's evidence was very clear, logical and without embellishment. We can think of no motivation for you to touch the victim other than sexual, end quote. This despite him giving his side of the story as not being sexual. It does not matter what he says in his defense. His actions, his intentions are not of any importance. The importance is placed upon what the alleged victim believed his intentions were, and nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing ever will. A woman's capabilities of mind reading is all that is needed in order to destroy a man's life. And remember Emmett Till. That is all I should have said. And I am incredibly cold. I don't know what else to say. The article linked really does speak for itself. This is from the UK, the same place that granted a woman who assaulted her boyfriend, stabbed him with a bread knife if I recall correctly, her freedom. She did not get any punishment, for punishment could possibly interfere with her academic future and her future career as a gifted surgeon. And we don't want to destroy the life of a violent woman, of course. Her actions should not carry any consequences for her, poor dear. A woman's actions having consequences for her? Goodness, that would be the day. It is clear that the UK has a two-tiered justice system. There is one set of rules for women and another set of rules for men. Where women are concerned, the law does not apply, and where men are concerned, the law really and truly does apply. For the law is able to read the minds of men and so divine their original intent, never minding what they themselves say. Men are nothing but liars, scumbags and fuck-guzzling pigs after all. This ability to divine the original intention of men is something women seem to have in general and en masse, an astonishing ability to be sure, and one that I wish I had. It never matters what a man says in his defense. It matters only what a woman says, no matter how absurd. And yet the feminist hive mind as well as society overall dare to still make the claim that women are oppressed and are never heard nor taken seriously. It is a brutal, ugly, vicious thing, and it will never end, not as long as good men and women are silent about it. George Orwell was correct in all but the year. This is the Junior Anti-Sex League on full display. It is the new speak guidelines for the current year, the divinity of womanhood and viciousness of manhood. Women are now synonymous with God, and men are synonymous with devil. Women are good and men are evil. That is the language of the current year. Fuck it. Who am I kidding? It is the language of the current year and all the years that have gone before. A beast with different shapes and forms, but the same beast. Even after all this time. And yet women dare to write articles about how horrible it is that men are now refusing to be alone with women. How horrible it is that men don't dare to make the first move, to do something in order to get a romantic relationship going. No wonder. We stand in danger of imprisonment if the woman decides she does not like us. Though I would absolutely dare say that not all women pushed for this or are like that. This is, after all, the work of feminism. I fail to see that many women standing up against this, nor do I see many women caught in outrage mode over this. And no wonder. Women and feminism have more important things to worry about. Such as the lines to the women's toilets being longer than that of men's toilets, or the non-existent pay gap, or the nefarious pink tax, or the air conditioning. All incredibly important injustices to be fixed and mended clearly. Not to mention that feminism claims to fight for men too, so really there is no need for any men's rights movement to take on this battle on behalf of men. All is good and fair. There is only equality sought here. Now get back to the plantation and fall on your knees and state quite proudly that you would never, ever, under any circumstances, do anything but what a woman tells you that you must do. All hail the goddess feminism, lady of chaos and bringer of perpetual darkness. Men are facing quite genuine discrimination in the legal system, in the social sphere, at schools and at work. So much so that any man's original intention does not matter. What any woman imagine his intention to be does matter. If you wanted to drive a wedge between the sexes, which there really should be no doubt about at this point in time, congratulations. That is exactly what you have done. I hope you are pleased with yourself, Miss Feminism, Miss Queen Bee Supreme. Now wait 10 years, and then reap what you have sown. You will not enjoy the reward. And it will all be of your doing and by your flimsy will brought forth. Woe upon the plight of womankind. Surely they are never taken seriously. Thank you very much for watching. Here follows an outro most befitting a video of this nature, a blatant attempt at virtual panhandling. Should you wish to support this channel, as well as my blog and any further endeavours this strange path will take me on, there are a few ways you can do that. The easiest would be to like, share and subscribe, as well as clicking the sometimes functional notification bell. Having the message, such as it is, manspread and mansplained far and wide will do wonders. You could also support my rambling and barely contained insanity by buying my books, which are linked below. More books will be made available as time allows. I also have a Redbubble shop, linked below, where you can buy prints in various forms of some of the artwork presented in my videos. Or you can contact me through the contact form on my blog for original artwork, commissions or prints direct from the source, so to speak. Until next time, I am your humble bearded bard, Morea Legier, man spreading majestically beneath the steel sky of doom.